The lights are off and away they go.
Extremely loose. He's managed to hold on. I think
he missed the complete. That is crazy stuff.
Side Freitas is on the grass on the infield before. He slides through. He tags Richard.
One of the inevitable facts of life is that the seasons bring change, and the Autobahn series proves no different. During the off-season, multiple big names have switched classes. On top of that, the new faces that arrived late last season have returned for a full championship run, meaning we've got more questions than answers as to who will be on top when all is said and done. Tonight, we'll kick things off at Daytona as we get ready to watch round one of the Autobahn Motorcar Group Sportscar Challenge, and you'll see it all live on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and returning to the booth to cover the prototype and GT1 classes is Bill Soup Zahn. Taking over for Smitty in the GT3 class, we're very happy to welcome Samuel Ryman to keep us up to date over there. Behind the scenes is our director Amjad Yaman, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Sam, Daytona, as always, sees a lot of racing action on iRacing at the start of the year. Tell us about the road course version of the Super Speedway.
Yeah, well, you saw it from the aerial view there. It is half road course, half oval track. Generally, the racing community refers to those as rovals, and every now and then you get drivers who don't like rovals, or rovals that aren't very good. However, this one is far from an exception. Is an exception. That is far from the case. It is good. It is great. It is, as a matter of fact, a very historic, pretty much as historic as any road course out there. 3.56 miles long, 12 all too recognizable turns. It's a pleasure for fans, it's a pleasure for drivers, and now tonight it is a pleasure for us as well, because we're about to go racing here for 90 minutes with 3 classes out there tonight. To get you a little more familiar though with the track, for those of you who haven't had the privilege of seeing it from the driver's perspective, let's take a tour around this joint with our GSRC lap guide.
Alright, we've got Kevin Brown behind the wheel of the GSRC BMW, so let's do a lap around Daytona. You brake for turn 1 immediately after the start-finish. It's a curved braking zone, transitions from banking to flat, and you're coming from the fastest part of the track to one of the slowest. How's that for a route introduction? Slip through this chicane flat out and then stay left to brake for the International Horseshoe. This is a potential passing zone, so be aware of your mirrors. You'll have a paved access road to the left, so you can use every bit of track to carry more speed off that exit. As we transition back right, the kink is going to be a flat-out blast, but you gotta get back to the left side very quickly and get set up for the Western Horseshoe. This is a really tricky apex to hit, and it's not uncommon to see cars slip wide. Now we get ready for 6, one of the most important corners on the track. This will dump you back onto the oval, so making sure your car is planted at the exit is going to determine how soon you can get on the loud pedal and carry your speed all the way around NASCAR 1 and 2. The good thing is, the steep Daytona banking means speeds are high, and picking up a draft is pretty easy. Stay within range, and you can ride the coattails of a faster car. If you've got the speed to clear the car ahead, do it. Otherwise, be wary of trying to outbrake them, because now you're going to spot your brake marker for the bus stop. It's very, very easy to blow any of these 4 apexes and get a cut course penalty. If you did it right, you're on the power before you've hit the 3rd apex. And it's going to be even more important than turn 6 that you get this right. Like I said at the start of the lap, this will lead you to the fastest part of the circuit. But like most rovals, you can expect a drafting game to play out, and cars are likely to attempt a last lap snipe. Your best hope is to push hard and break the draft before then. If you can, you really want to be the second car in line coming out of the bus stop. But that's a lap around Daytona. That's a lap around the high banks here at Daytona. Now, with this being the first round of a new season, obviously there's no points to go over because everybody has been reset. But if you didn't follow last season, we've got Bill here to update us on what that wound up looking like.
Yeah, and Joe, you know, GSRC is blessed to have several great full-time series on its broadcast docket. A favorite amongst not only the viewers, but the commentators alike is the Autobahn Motorcar Group Sportscar Challenge. We've been on the scene since Season 2, and the up-and-coming Season 5 could prove to be the most competitive yet. Let's take a look at last season's final results and how things are shaping up for Season 5, starting with the Team Championship. Now, the defending champs, Talon Motorsports, return intact with Bob the Blade Tinsey, Brandon Postma, and Jim Carpool McGinnis keeping the same rides as Season 4. For runner-up TMC Carbon, GT1 champ Stephen McGarvey returns, but Tim McLeish takes over in the HPD, and Robert Jackman moves from the disbanded Mean Beaver Racing to fill that GT3 role. The commentators getting to say Excelsior is a thing of the past as that team has changed its name to Itasha Motorsports. There were rumors that team was going to be named Reading Camel Racing. Safe to say everyone dodged a bullet there. But while the name has changed, the players remain the same. Jason Gerard, Paul Lindsay, and Patrick Fleming making up the roster. GT3 champ John Pac-Man Paquin and David Sockrider are back for P1 Racing. But the big news here is the car shuffle, with Pac-Man moving to the prototypes and Christopher Sherburne coming in to replace him in the GT3. Hey, another team to watch out for that missed the Season 4 overlay is Autobahn Motorsports West, with John Big Cheese Ulmer in the prototype and Billy Smith II in the GT1, being the big names there. Any GT3 points that Brett Trezine can chip in could be the difference. Now, turning to the Drivers' Championship, the preseason buzz is all about the prototype race. Champion Robert Tinsey, Jason Gerard, and a healthy John Big Cheese Ulmer are back. If that wasn't enough, John Pac-Man Paquin joins the fun, and a committed David Williams is there too, competing for Just Cause Racing. It's going to be hard for Mark Wilson, who has moved over to upstart TMC Crimson, to find room on the overlay this season. Now, one driver who won't have to worry about the talent pool is prototypes is Flying Snails Kevin Santana, who has moved to the GT1s. In that GT1 class, Stephen McGarvey is back to defend his crown, along with runner-up Brandon Postma, Paul Lindsay, Billy Smith, and David Sockrider are all back as well. Chase Hudson for Mama Jean Racing has left the fray, but MGR has high hopes for newcomer Daniel Benefield. A little cross-pollination taking place. As always, prepared James Wyckoff of the Pacific Major fame will do double duty here in the AMGCS for Rainier Racing. Finally, in the GT3s, Pac-Man departure to the prototype gives hope to the rest of the field. With the dissolution of Team OFW, Paul Oh My Darling is back as a privateer, at least until some team finds a way to fit him under the I-rating cap. But how much will he run this season is still unknown. Jim Carpool McGinnis now has hopes of a second championship, but Dave Hill, Patrick Fleming might have the same idea. Privateer Danny Kane returns as last season's surprise rookie Laurel Costa is due to make a sophomore season. Now, Joe, I think I've covered all my bases, but it'll be no surprise if an unknown first-time driver shows up and steals the show.
Yeah, we've certainly seen it happen here in this series. But for our viewers who aren't familiar with the Autobahn Motorcar Group Sports Car Challenge at all, you might not know how these races are about to play out. For that, let's go to Sam, see what the race details look like for tonight.
Yeah, well, the big story is that it's a 90-minute race, and we're going to have 3 winners at the end of it. We're going to have a prototype winner, a GT1 winner, and a GT3 winner. There you see, making up a prototype class are the HPD cars. In GT1, you have a choice between the Corvette and the Aston Martin. In GT3, you have a choice between the Ford GT and the Mercedes. Like it says under that, it's 90 minutes. The setups are open, although there is limited fuel. We expect this to be a 2-stop race for everyone, so that would be pitting around every 30 minutes. You pit at the half-hour point and then the hour mark, and then you have enough fuel to get you to 90 minutes where the checkered flag will fly. You do get 1 fast repair. That means if you wad up your car early on, you can go back to the pits and get a new car. However, that will likely cost you a lap, and of course, this being a road course racing endurance series, there are no cautions that will help you catch up, so you're losing time whenever you get involved in an incident. Incident limit 36 points. Hopefully no one will hit that, although it is easy every now and then to get your wheels in the grass to spin around at these hairpins that you have, these horseshoes almost that you have in the middle of the course here. And then of course the bus stop is also very tricky as well. Last thing you saw there, the weather is going to be dynamic throughout the season tonight, very grippy. It's 74 degrees Fahrenheit, although there is a pretty steady wind, about 15 miles an hour. That's in the easterly direction, or an easterly wind rather, 15 miles an hour. That could throw some drivers off. We'll have to wait and see how that plays out.
Yeah, definitely don't want any sort of wind in these HPDs. Now, Bill, I'm looking at the qualifying times here. You were lamenting the fact that Gerard was quite a bit clear of Tinsey between first and second, but look who's just popped up in the top 3 there.
Yeah, I was a little bit worried that Jason Gerard might run away with it, but the Big Cheese, who did the last chance qualifying, what they do is they break in. It's a 40-minute qualifying, 10 minutes per class, and they have a final 10 minutes for guys who missed the opening round. John didn't put in a time in the first time, but he came in. John Ulmer put it in there pretty darn close to Gerard. That should allow Bob the Blade to hang in there as well. The guy I was really surprised on, we'll talk about it more when we go to the grid, is Jimbo Pfeiffer having a good run there, sitting in 4th right now. In the GT1s, no surprise, McGarvey and Smith up there in front. Newcomer, though, Wojciech Swirinovich doing a good job in 3rd position. We'll have to keep an eye on him. And Sam, what do you see going on there in GT3s?
Well, GT3 qualifying is finished. Of course, we have this LCQ going on right now, but it doesn't look like anyone's going to challenge Patrick Fleming's time of a 1:43.2. He currently has over a 10th of a second ahead of Danny Kane. That's a Mercedes at the top and a Ford GT in 2nd place right there. We'll read out the full grid for you at the end of the session. But meanwhile, the driver who was fastest in practice over in GT3 was Scott McGarvey. He's currently down in 4th place there, so he'll have a couple of cars to pass. Fortunately, a 90-minute race, he'll have a lot of time to try and do it.
We've also taken notice that Bradley Haley has returned once again. He came in and shook things up here in the Autobahn series towards the end of last season, much like he shook up the end of the Pacific Majors last season. He is a fast driver, relatively new to iRacing, but definitely knows how to mix it with the best. And I am curious to see how that is going to go now that he could have a full season under his belt. We're just letting them finish up these last few laps in the last chance qualifying before we read out the grid. And since we need to kill a little time before we get to that, I'm going to go to Bill for the traditional question. Who's your pick?
Well, I can't take Bob the Blade. He's sitting in 3rd. John Ulmer, I think, is I can't imagine the cheese will come off the pizza so early in the season. So let's go ahead and give Ulmer the nod here in the prototypes. When we get down to the GT1s, of course, McGarvey looks good. What I saw from Billy Smith at the end of the season looked like he had finally got it figured out in his Corvette. So even though the Aston Martin said 1, 3, and 4 up there, I like Jimmy Smith or Billy Smith in the Corvette to take this one home. Sam, who do you like down there in GT3s?
Oh, I'm not really sure what to tell you, because I think the top 5 in practice have all rotated positions, and the top 5 in qualifying for the GT3 class, which I guess means at the end of the day I've got to go with Patrick Fleming, going to be on that pole. So there, I know you got 90 minutes of racing to go when the green flag drops, and then also you got pit strategy to play into that, and a huge draft on the back straight will help as well. But Fleming, fast in practice, and the fact that he has over a tenth of a second, really, well, actually not, just short of a tenth of a second over Danny Kane, is something promising. But I mean, I'm not putting too much money on it, Bill, because it's really close up at the front of a GT3 class.
Bet the house on Paul Darling. That's my call down there. That's he's sitting way down in the pack right now, but 90 minutes is a long time for him to get it figured out.
And tell you what, though, Fleming has been coming on strong, and I know we brought it up in the pre-race already, but he was looking good in the pack majors here as well. So Fleming showing that he is not someone to overlook. I wouldn't put it past him to be able to try and get a win in here. But with the clock just about through, let's go through the order. And actually, it has changed recently. This is big news. Up on the top of the grid, John Ulmer takes the pole away from Gerard by less than a tenth, by 2/100ths of a second. That is going to have big effects, I think. Jason Gerard in second place on the inside of row 2. Robert Tinsey, he says that the American tracks aren't as strong for him as they are for John Ulmer, and maybe it's showing to be true here today at Daytona. Jimbo Pfeiffer is starting in 4th. Alex Simonik, he's going to be in 5th, followed by Ryan Bird in 6th. Then you go to 7th place. It'll be Mark Schindel, followed by Daniel Gralti, another new face here in the Autobahn series, starting 8th. Mark Wilson, he's going to be in 9th, followed by Tim McLeish in 10th. We move to the next bit of cars. Scott Corbin will be starting in 11th, followed by Elliot Mimi in 12th. Chris Pence will be in 13th. Sean Reese in 14th. Lionel Duprat in 15th. And John Paquin, a surprise for him. In qualifying, he was looking much better in practice. He is our 16th and last HPD. Bill?
Look up sandbagging in the dictionary. You'll see a picture of John Paquin there, I think. I expect more from him in that prototype. Hey, picking up right where he left off last season, Stephen McGarvey in the pole position. Billy Smith outside of him. Newcomer, we're calling him Swirly in the booth. It is Wojciech Swiridovich running in the 19th position overall, 3rd in class. Kevin Santana behind him. 4th and 5th go to Kiradine Bufia and Paul Darling, who I misspoke, thought he was in the GT3s. He's actually in the GT1. Watch out for him. He's usually fast. Troy Schuster, Daniel Benefield coming in, filling in for Mama Jean Racing, taking Chase Hudson's spot, running in 24th position. Robbie Morrison and James Wyckoff from Pacific Majors. Watch for Wyckoff to pick up spots as well. Leif Peterson, Clark Archer, and Paul Lindsay round out the GT1s. Sam?
Yeah, you saw Paul Wyckoff jump up on the screen there, seeing if Laura Costa will do the same in GT3. If he doesn't, Patrick Fleming will have pole in GT3, and sure enough, qualifying is over because Costa's coming in. Danny Kane is second in the GT3 grid, and behind him is Bradley Haley and Scott McGarvey, 4th place. Sheldon Rosenbaum rounds out the top 5 GT3 cars. Then you got Chandler Rubeck and Dave Hill behind, followed by Robert Drackman and Miguel Miller. Laura Costa just pulled into the pits behind them, and then here we are with David Tejeda and Robert Sklenka, Christopher Sherburn and Pablo Silveira, Mark Kudrowski and Sheldon Woloshin will round out the field. Brett Trojan is not in the server.
There's your field here for round 1 of the Autobahn Motorcar Group Sports Car Challenge. Thanks for joining us here on the Global Sim Racing channel for this race, 90-minute race at Daytona. And I know I'm looking forward to this one as the cars start to grid up, especially wanting to see what Ulmer can do from pole. As we wait for them to do this little half a lap of warm-up here, Bill, what are some of the places that you expect them to be mostly making passes out there today?
Turn 1 seems to be the spot that we've seen a lot of times. Also, going into the bus stop is another good spot if they get a run out onto the oval. From what I've seen in the when we've covered the 24-hour races, those seems to be the popular spots. The problem is trying to do a pass into the bus stop, outside of the bus stop can be a problem.
Yeah, we've seen that go wrong, especially if you go too wide into there. You might have one car or 2 cars go in and 1 car come out of that situation. And of course, there's always the danger zones. There's definitely some close walls in certain parts, Sam. What are the places they expect a lot of problems to happen?
The turn 1, and we saw that happen in the real the Rolex 24 at Daytona with Wayne Taylor Racing and Action Express Racing just a couple of weeks ago. And then of course turn 6, which is the turn that leads back up onto the banking, and then the bus stop on the back straight where the cars are getting gridded up here. Definitely danger zones on the circuit. But I'm going to be keeping a close eye on turn 1 for GT3, because I think the driver in second place, Danny Kane, will actually get to start on the inside. The way everything's gridded up, will be interesting to see if Danny Kane can make a move for the lead in GT3 before they even get to the first turn. And I think he will try and do that, because he's saying in the chat that he's going for the overall win. And that'll be something if a GT3 car can pull that off.
Yeah, someone needs to tell him this is not the Predator format that we had in the Pacific Majors. And speaking of that, Ulmer got to experience that for the first time over there, Bill. And one of his comments is that this is going to seem tame after that. So do you think maybe that helped excise some of his demons?
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I like John. I think he got it out of his system there in the Pacific. He had a rough event over there. If you haven't seen one of those Predator races, you want to check in on that Pacific Majors when they start the slower cars first, the middle class in the middle, and those prototypes come out late. I think John had a rough time. I look for him to be good here today.
Well, he certainly found the speed, even though it's very tight between himself and Gerard. It's Tinsey. I'm wondering if he can somehow find the pace over the course of the race to get back into this thing, maybe move himself farther up the podium. Working their way around NASCAR 3 and 4. Once we hit the tri-oval, we are going racing for 90 minutes here at Daytona in the Autobahn Motorcar Group Sports Car Challenge. The roof pace car leading the way as John Ulmer flashes his headlights, I guess in excitement and anticipation of what he's about to get going here. We're on our 5th season in the Autobahn series. It's always provided excitement every single season. We expect nothing less as the green flies. John Ulmer takes them to the line. It's a very good jump on the field. Jason Gerard is going to be able to slot into second. They're sorting themselves out, mostly single file for the top 5, a little bit of side-by-side, farther back in the pack, but everybody's looking very patient into the first corner. Let's go to the GT1s.
Big gap between the prototypes and the GT1s. If they have yet to even get to the grid, get to the line yet. They're waiting for the green. There we get to go. And last season champion Paul McGarvey gets him out in front. No surprise, Billy Smith drops into second. Swirly going ahead into third position. A battle 3 wide as they go into corner number 1. Getting on the inside there. The new one, that's Kiradine Buafia gets 4th position. Rounding out your top 5, Paul Darling already making a move. Sam?
Yeah, once again, a big gap between the GT1 and the GT3 field. HPD might have to deal with lap traffic very soon. Here we go, Patrick Fleming on the loud pedal early, and that is going to allow him to build up a big gap over Danny Kane, who otherwise may have been able to get on the inside of him. So Fleming leads the way. The battle's on for second, but Danny Kane holds onto it ahead of a Mercedes. And Bradley Haley battle on for 4th place. Give that position to Scott McGarvey.
So haven't seen any dramas yet. Everyone making a nice, easy first lap. Ulmer is still our overall leader. He hasn't been able to stretch away from Gerard, though, keeping close tabs on him. They are putting a big gap on Tinsey in third, and we do have a battle for 4th as Pfeiffer has Simonik all over the back of him already. He stays to the inside as they come to the line to complete the first lap. Let's see how aggressive Alex is going to be. He was known for causing a bit of trouble last season, but he backs out of it looking a little bit more timid this time. Simonik way off the apex, though, and that is going to give another opportunity to Alex. Once again, Jimbo looking a little bit defensive, staying just in the middle of the track down in the International Horseshoe.
Pfeiffer with a great run up and 4th. Tinsey having trouble staying with those 2 leaders, though.
We had our first off-course in GT3, Sheldon Rosenbaum, the driver who was running in 5th place. He got on the power just a bit too hard on the cold tyres, getting up onto the banking. It was a turn 6. We talked about it before the green flag even dropped, and that's dropped him several positions, down to 9th now.
Mauro Costa just snuck by him on the back straight, but he gets a terrible run coming out of the bus stop. And it looks like that's going to go right back into the hands of Sheldon Rosenbaum as he carries his momentum up onto the high side. But he's going the long way around, and he's starting to drop back, actually.
Yeah, he'll be able to tuck back in behind here though and see if he can try and make anything happen in turn one. I know he's just made a mistake, but he's got to keep a cool head here. We've still got 89 minutes left of this race to go, and let's see if Costa holds onto the position. He will for now. There's another side-by-side battle at the back there. That's Meyer on the inside of Tejeda, and they all sort themselves out. Takeda, rather.
Got a lot of action happening in GT3 as Tejada tries to get himself back in order here. And it looks like no harm, no foul, being just a little bit slow there. Now, one thing with them so spread apart, the HPDs are already catching the tail end of the GT3s, and they like to follow this because these guys are usually pretty bunched up when they first catch this slowest class. It makes for some interesting racing for our top HPDs, and right now Gerard still putting the pressure on. There's going to be some excitement.
Yeah, I think Sam and I both noted the gap between, but Joe, when you came to me for the GT1s, they had still a long time to go. I called that start, went to Sam, and Sam had a long time before they took the green there. So yeah, the class is very much spread out, separated around the early laps.
As we ride on board with second place Gerard, they're going to come up on Pablo Silveira. He is the first of the GT3s, currently last place of the field. And they're going to be able to get him easily here on the banking.
Yeah, Silveira's opening lap was 8 seconds slower than the rest of the GT3 field, so I don't know if he had the mistake.
Oh, we've got some problems into turn one. Kevin Santana. He spun all by himself in the car behind him.
And it was Leif Peterson. Yeah, Santana spun in front. I think it scared Leif. Leif got off, and Leif is really stuck there in the middle. He finally gets it going.
Tell you what, we got the battle for the GT3 lead shaping up. Kane looking on Fleming in turn one right now. But the incident has cleared. He was on the high side. He couldn't do anything with it. But on the first lap, Fleming completely checked out from Kane. I wonder if tyres were cold on. Oh, and he makes a mistake there. That's going to cost him second place. Maybe the tyres still need to get up to temperature.
Big moment there for Danny Kane. Allows Bradley Haley to get side by side. Are they going to go too wide through the kink? Haley loses out on that game of chicken, and he slots himself back into third once again.
Fleming gets a bit of breathing room, but Kane will be able to eat back up into that gap on the oval portion of the circuit.
We haven't checked in at GT1 and all of this excitement. Oh. Whoa! John Paquin not having a good start to this race out in the world.
Mark Wilson got into him. Now the question is, why did Paquin spin? Oh, Paquin was making the move, and he tapped Elliot Mimi. Mimi saying, ay, 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 there.
Meanwhile, John Paquin getting an Australian's view of the world. The snowplow effect of his HPDs claims another victim.
Now remember, he started at the back of the pack. He had made his way through several of the cars. But that's going to be, there is one fast repair, but pretty much that's going to put him out of contention for any impressive finish. He'll have to take a tow.
I was going to say, the fact that he was upside down forced him to use that tow, which is really what is going to slow him up the most. Let's go back to our HPD leader, because he is still in the thick of this GT3 traffic. And in fact, he's allowed this traffic to help him through to a bigger gap over second place Gerard. Now 2.5 seconds between them.
Yeah, the problem is when these HPD leaders get to the front of this pack, they're going to encounter this battle for the GT3 lead, which is still heating up. Kane has run Fleming back down. He wasn't able to do anything about it on the oval portion of the circuit, but I have a feeling it's lap 4 right now. Fleming has led the opening 3 laps. I'm not sure he'll lead lap 4 at this rate, but what will happen when when HPDs get here?
And Bill, look at the traffic jam that we've got at the 2nd through 5th. And the HPDs, they are really scything through some GT3 traffic, but they are all within, what, about 1.5 seconds of each other here?
Yeah, they are already really working here.
Sorry, Robert Tinsey almost got pushed off the track as he was trying to put a lap on Dave Hill.
Yeah, Hill does a good job getting out of the way. Now here comes onside of Hill. There goes the next GT, the prototype. That's Pfeiffer getting around him, and now Simonic of Lickhart, they get to do it. Okay, now we got to go to P2. We got to go to the GT1s here real quick as we have this battle going on. It looks like Smith is taking over the lead, or taking over second spot.
Or no, I think Smith is in the lead, actually.
Yeah, let's get this right. Okay, Smith is fine. The question is, where's McGarvey? McGarvey was leading this a while ago. It's a 6-car train that's been going on the whole time. They've been really peaceful. Well, now, while we're looking at that, you got Smith out in front. You got Swirly, Sverdanovic behind him. Then comes McGarvey, who's been leading from the beginning, but not being able to lead these guys behind. Kiradine Biafia behind him. And then also in there, Paul Darling is 4th in line, 5th in line. Benefield in 6th line, and also getting in the back there in the caboose is Troy Schuster. Great battle going on in the GT1s.
It's all popping off. About 40 seconds ago, Ryan Huff got turned around in turn 1. He had a little bit of help, but it didn't start that way. He spun on his own.
The GT3 battle for the lead really heated up in turn 1, and Robert Tinsley almost gone to the back of Bradley Haley coming out of turn 1. I'm sorry, back to you, Andrew. They were able to avoid disaster.
There we go. We saw Sock Rider trying to avoid Huff and just tipping him around. Meanwhile, let's go back to live, because this battle in the HPDs is not over. Still working their way around the GT3 leaders.
There have been a lot of close calls here. The GT3 leaders have been good about letting them by, but there's just some that you can't avoid.
This is very early on in the race, so nobody really wants to get into trouble. Trying to keep the cars clean, trying not to make too many risky moves. And now we're seeing the HPDs start to split apart finally as we watch Pfeiffer in 5th place.
See a battle shaping up perhaps for position there, and HPD for 6 with Bird Schindel right behind him. Now they get split up by Fleming. Back to the GT1 battle.
It just won't go away. It just continues. Now, Billy Smith is out in front. I can report that what happened to McGarvey was nothing unusual. He just got passed in the draft first by Billy Smith, and then Kordowski got him. But you can see how bunched up they are, and then it stretches out a little bit due to the accordion effect when they get out onto the oval, as they're going to do right now.
Let's see if we get a few more overtakes. Smith leading the trains. Swirly in 2nd. Stephen McGarvey in 3rd. Kiradine Buafia in 4th. And they are stretching apart. I'm not seeing anybody really getting a good run. That could change once they hit the bus stop. That exit really separates the men from the boys. Meanwhile, 2nd place, Swirly starting to gain on Billy Smith. Down into the braking zone they go. Everybody stays in line. Up through the bus stop, weaving their way, single file. Who's going to get the launch?
For as close as the racing has been, it's been really polite.
Look at this, 5th place. Daniel Benefield coming up on Kiradine. What can he do? Daniel reported before the race he's having a little bit harder time being up at the sharp end in these GT1s than he was in the HPDs. He's still up in the top 5 here, but top 6, I should say. But he's certainly not dominating like we saw before.
Look at them dive into one. They all bunch up. Watching the whole thing back there is Troy Schuster and Paul Darling. I don't think I've ever said this, the caboose of the train. Darling having a hard time getting going right now, running 7th.
Well, we saw this last season, Bill. The GT1 was the only one that went all the way to the wire as far as the championship was concerned. The talent level in this class just seems to consistently be top-notch.
Oh, here we go. Look battle back here for 4th. On the inside, this is Boafia being Benefield trying to get it done on the inside. They touch, they spin. There goes Boafia off.
We're understanding there's a little bit of netcode. We're going to watch it from above here. Boafia is from Algeria, so his connection might be a little bit delayed here and cause that contact. Even still, there were some drivers complaining about the way that Benefield was driving last season in the HPD. I'm wondering if those complaints are going to resurface.
You're not going to make any friends from Algeria.
That's for sure. Not sure what the traditional gift from Algeria is going to be. I can't make a joke there.
So that with that little action, though, that breaks up that train that was 7 cars. Now it's a train of 3, 2, and then 1, so it's separated considerably.
You're watching Paul Darling and this looks like Troy Schuster having a nice little battle here. Hard braking down into one, but they get that sorted out single file by the time they hit the apex. Tell you what, oh, and Daniel Benefield is headed into the pits. I wonder if he got some damage from that contact. This is way early. This is definitely not within the pit window. He exits quickly. Let's jump over to GT3 because we haven't been over there in a while. I'm seeing Fleming still leading. Has there been any action that we missed, Sam?
It's pretty much the same movie over and over again we've been seeing so far. Kane keeps closing in on Fleming.
Oh, and something has happened to Darling. He's off at the side of the road. Sorry to interrupt here. This is in the Western Horseshoe.
All by himself, I think. He was being trailed by Troy Schuster. I think he just got it off, got the left sides off in the grass, Joe, and the car just got ground on him.
Yeah, he had a big wobble in the braking zone.
And contact between the GT3 leaders. Fleming holds onto it, but they definitely got together there coming out of turn 2. And here's the problem. Each time Kane gets within striking range of Fleming, what's coming up behind him here? Another HPD car. A HPD car comes along and breaks up a battle. That's the closest Kane has really been able to challenge Fleming so far this race. He knows he's fast, or at least he's able to get the draft every single lap and hand with Fleming and run him down. But each time he has to let a HPD car by, Fleming gets a little bit of ways. Now, it will be interesting seeing if any of them sustain damage from that contact. I don't think so. I think they were able to both get away with it. But now that these HPD cars have finally cleared their way through this GT3 battle, it will be interesting to see if Kane can close in on Fleming and take advantage here. He keeps trying to make something happen in turn 1.
That was Lionel Duprat who snuck up around the outside of the oval to put them another lap down in that HPD. But yeah, those S's coming out of turn 1, they may be flat out in these GT3 cars, but it can be tricky to try and navigate too wide, as these two found out. Danny Kane trying to use that slippery Ford GT to close back up on the Merc of Fleming. Let's see if he's got it.
Sorry, John Ulmer just gave me a scare.
Yeah, what keeps happening here, Joe, Kane gets a run, but then he looks to the outside. He knows Fleming's not going to open the door for him, so he looks to the high side, and then he tries to get a better exit off of a turn, and you can see they're sliding under braking, and let's see if Kane can get a good exit here. He can, but Fleming's taken up too much of the track, and Kane will have to stay behind for now. He's looking all over the back of Fleming, but I don't think it's going to work on the outside there.
Oh, I wouldn't know about that. Here comes Danny Kane trying to do a power move, and I think he might have it. He's going to have the inside of the kink. He moves over. He is clear of Fleming. Wow.
Well, I never thought he'd pull that one off. A great move by Danny Kane to get to the lead. Now, can he hold it there? How much did Fleming like being out in front? Now, Bradley Haley, that's the driver in third place there. He's keeping tabs on these two.
That Ford GT just looked phenomenal in the braking to the International Horseshoes. Are they known for that? I know the Mercs are pretty good all-around cars, but man, that Ford just flew up. Here comes the draft once again. Fleming's got the run. Looks to the inside. He closes on him extremely fast. I wonder if maybe the braking isn't down to the Ford GT, if maybe there's just a lot more wing on Kane's car.
Yeah, Kane made that one look easy, and I'm sure, Fleming made that one look easy. I'm sure Kane doesn't appreciate it, though. Let's see if he can try and get that lead back. And Fleming's going to come across the line, having led all 9 laps so far. Kane says he wants the overall win. Well, first off, he needs to get to the top spot in GT3. He's got the run here. He's going to use the apron. Wow, this is interesting.
Oh, gets back above the yellow line, but now they have to duck below it down into turn 1. He's got the inside. Could we see an over-under from Fleming? No response. Now, I know there were some rules about racing under the yellow line, but all I know is that on the banking, NASCAR 1, 2, 3, and 4, is where you're not allowed to race under there.
Kane has the lead. What's going on in GT1 right now, Bill?
Oh, you got to go. Let's go to John Ulmer right now, because he's coming up around the leaders in the GT1. He just got around the third-place driver of Stephen McGarvey. I think he's going to catch these guys on a good spot. Right now, he's trying to go around swirly, and he gets that done as well. Is he going to get the leader before turn 1? I think he might. But he has just been what we call Bob the Blade, because Robert Tinsley able to go through traffic so smoothly. Tinsley is like a bull in the china, I'm sorry, Ulmer's like a bull in the china shop going through these guys, but he's getting it done.
He works his way past Billy Smith. Are those two teammates this year?
Yes, they are. They're both racing for Autobahn West. Little flashing of the headlights there to get Tejeda out of the way. And now Ulmer is clear. But here come right behind him. Look at the guy in second. This is that prototype of Gerard trying to get around on the outside.
The Itasha machine making a brave move around the outside of the Western Horseshoe, trying to keep tabs on John Ulmer. He gained a little bit of ground since we last checked. He was about 2.5 seconds behind not long ago, now down to 1.5.
Meanwhile, talking about that win in GT3, once again, Joe Fleming gets a run on the front straight and is challenging Kane for the top spot as they go into turn 1. Has that desired inside line, but we've seen Kane respond out of here before. No contact between them this time. Is Kane going to try and pull off the outside move again? No, Fleming closes the door on the outside. Boy, these two are fighting hard for the lead, and you see Fleming slide in the middle of a turn. Kane's going to get alongside. Who's going to chicken out in the King?
Bradley Haley in the popcorn position behind him watching this all. This time it's going to be Fleming who comes out on top. Boy, Kane had a great run coming out of turn 1, but his momentum was interrupted. Otherwise, I think he would have had that position with ease. And the more I watch Kane, the more I'm starting to suspect my call about him having a lot more wing is right, because he gets better traction coming out of the corners, and he gets a lot deeper braking going into them.
But the star of GT3 so far, Joe, isn't any of these three. It's been Lauro Costa, has now worked his way up into 4th. I think he's just done it by passing all the rest of them. It'll be interesting to see if he can run down this top 3 battle.
Yeah, Costa up 8 spots, our big mover, along with Paul Lindsay.
Costa came in, shook things up in the GT1 class last season. This season he's switched over to the GT3s. Billy Smith, though, has switched down quite... Oh, and
no,
Billy
he's
Smith
off
is
in the grass. He bled his own blood here. The car just got loose in the horseshoe.
We're going to see the replay. Ooh, wow. That snapped around very fast. And Tinsley had quite a scare trying to avoid that incident. It looks like Vocek was trying to avoid it himself and maybe got into the side of Tinsley. Here, I think we're going to hop on board. Yeah, here we go.
Tinsley kind of just got up into the back of Swirly.
And you know, that's there was some talk about this last season, Bill, with the HPDs. When you make those outside passes, they say that they can be risky with those sorts of incidents happening.
Yeah, I think he put himself in a no-win position there. So once again, the GT1 changes up now with your leader now being would it be Swerdinovic in there, or did it go to McGarvey? Okay.
Yeah, Vocek is leading. Although McGarvey's got him within a couple tenths here. He's keeping the pressure on. They've split up quite a bit up at the top. They've got 3.5 seconds over third place, Troy Schuster.
And Schuster, just sitting back there minding his own business, has been able to avoid all the problems, has worked his way up there. Another guy who's having a great run, or at least was Robbie Morrison. He's sitting 5th in class right now.
Morrison took on the mantra last season, the GT3s, of trying to go for consistency. Didn't quite work out for him. I wonder if he's going to attempt that in the GT1s this year. Right now, he's got it towards his side, as you said, running in 5th in the GT1s. Simonik, we're understanding, having some problems. He's turned around on track.
All by himself again. The car just got loose. Boy, it was a real tank slapper. Then he got turned around. Maybe a good look at this one, if you want to go on board, would be Daniel Graltry. He had a good look at headlights. I hope he had his visor that he took down, because there'd be a lot of glare.
Here we are on Daniel Gralty.
Now it's 2 cars up.
Coming out of the Western Horseshoe here. Oh, yeah. Woo! He actually took to the grass to get around that one. So Simonik running into trouble, and that's sending him way down the order. Actually, Simonik is no longer on the track. I don't believe he's disconnected, but he's
falling in the standings, and I don't see him.
Oh, and Stephen McGarvey
in turn one. Nosed it in a little bit. I don't think he got a lot of damage, but once again, another GT1 driver in trouble. And he's losing a ton of spots. Watch this, Joe. As he gets it pointed in here, there is no way for him to turn this car around. He has to just sit and wait.
Confirmation.
Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Joe. Confirmation on Simonik that he lost the internet connection.
Oh, and Kiradine Buafia gets turned around. Oh, no, he gets hit! That was David Sockrider coming up on him in a GT3.
Now, Buafia had been in the pits for a long time because remember, he had that incident, but then he lost it for a long time, and he brought the car. He was sitting out there. Oh, you know what? He was moving it. He started to go forward, then he started to go back.
Well,
and Sockrider just couldn't figure out what to do.
And excuse me, Sockrider's in a GT1. Apologies there. To Carradine's credit, though, he was trying to back up, and he was already off course, so I wouldn't have expected Sockrider to take that escape route.
Right. I think that's a really good point.
I don't think he did anything wrong in that situation. It was just a bad combination of everybody was in the wrong place at the wrong time.
More traffic issues as the HPD leaders have caught our GT3 leaders once again. Headlights flashing as they try and work their way through. So far they've been able to do it without any incidents. But yeah, with Simonik's internet going out, Pablo Silveira, he joins us out of a race. And another driver who made an early retirement was James Wyckoff.
And we've got some information on what happened to Simonik. He got the blue screen of death, so that's why such a sudden escape route for him. Probably the right call in that situation. But you mentioned our GT1 leaders, our HPD leaders. Jason Gerard is continuing to hold John Ulmer accountable. He's waiting for the cheese to slip off the pizza at any opportunity.
Yeah, and actually traffic was not Ulmer's friend here as Gerard was able to run him down. He had a nice lead, almost up to 3 seconds until, like I talked about, Gerard really being a bull. Ulmer being a bull trying to get through there. Just wasn't going well for him. And I wouldn't be surprised here with this run that Gerard has. If he doesn't do it this time, he's going to get him maybe next lap.
They are coming up on the pit stop soon as well. And it might be a little bit late to try and save fuel behind him, but I wondered if Gerard might stay patient, lift a little bit, take a slightly quicker pit stop than Ulmer and jump him.
Oh, and a big mistake by Patrick Fleming. Overcooked the brakes entering turn one. It's going to cost him second position to Bradley Haley in GT3.
It was a long, patient wait for Bradley Haley, but it has finally paid off, moving into P2. We got a little bit of traffic. Who was that on the outside? That's Sockrider once again.
Yeah, a lot of tyre smoke coming out the back of his car in that turn. I guess he overshot it.
In fact, he is currently splitting our leaders. It seems as though he might be slower than our GT3 leaders, which is not unheard of in the GT1s.
Well, he did have that damage. Maybe a mistake, and maybe he was just coming out the pits. I've got to confess I only picked him up in turn 3 there.
This is where it should be easier for the GT1 Aston, getting some speed on the oval. And he's starting to gain on our GT3 leader, Danny Kane, but he's got one of the HPDs coming up. Oh, thought that was going to be scary for a moment. Tinsey goes all the way below the yellow line to make sure nothing happens between them. And finally, Danny Kane is overtaken by David Sockrider.
Well, I talked about Fleming dropping to third in class with that mistake. He may lose more than that because Costa is right on his rear wing. McGarvey is also there battling for position. That's not the car right behind him. Jimbo Fife is navigating his way through that pack in the HPD. He now goes by them all. What can Costa do on Fleming for third place as they come down to turn 1 this time by? Got the HPD of Ryan Bird who could mix things up here. Flashing his headlights in the background there.
Looks like they're going to sort themselves out down here into turn 1. Costa around the outside and has to stay there with the HPD coming through. Going to split them for just a moment down in the International Horseshoe.
Fleming can't commit to the inside because of the HPD traffic. That could play to Costa's hands. He filters into 4th place for now though. McGarvey in 5th, just watching on.
Now, as this has been happening, Bill, I've been keeping half an eye on Gerard.
Yep.
He's looking a little circumspect behind Ulmer.
Yeah, I'm not so sure if he's just going to sit back there and wait until after the pit stop. He's close enough. Let's see what he does here. If he wants it, he can take it right here. He has,
that's a big
he
lift.
has a run and there's a lift going on. So I think he's happy where he is. Go on in, take the stop, and then see how things play out from there. Because I don't think he's going anywhere. I think the best he's going to get is around Ulmer, but I don't think he's going to leave Ulmer behind. So kind of what's the point?
Playing the long game potentially as we ride on board looking back at Gerard.
Yeah, and look at the top left of your screen here, Joe. We're approaching the half-hour point.
And our leader's in. Ulmer pits. This should take him to the pit exit right about at the 1 hour mark, which is exactly 1/3.
Now, the bad news for Ulmer is right now, Gerard has a clear track ahead of him. So if there's anything that Gerard could do to hot lap and maybe leave Ulmer behind, this would be the time to do it, and he's got no traffic.
Ulmer's a pretty smart cookie. I wonder if he noticed that Gerard was hanging out behind him and decided to take the earliest pit window possible so that he couldn't save fuel behind him.
I like the idea, but there's no guarantee that John's not going to come out behind a swarm of cars and be stuck. I'm not sure what kind of lap he's going to have on his out lap. I know right now he's running really hot.
Well, Ulmer is already out. Let's see. This is a tricky pit exit to navigate. He's got to maximize it. He gets through there cleanly, avoids the pit wall, but he's going to come out with some HPD traffic. This is John Paquin, who's laps down here.
Gets out in front of Paquin, yeah. Gets out in front and pretty clear. He's got Robert Jackman about, maybe 2 turns ahead, so I think he's in good shape.
Gerard inherits the lead in the meantime. He's coming up to the bus stop himself. We're going to find out soon if he responds to John Ulmer's pit stop.
What's amazing is Gerard has a 15-second lead on Robert Tinsley. Not a good start for our defending champ.
Defending champ who looked so dominant in the past few seasons here. And in fact, Jason Gerard does respond. He comes in very hot. Is he going to hit the spit? Yes, he does. The pit limiter does come on just in time. But boy, he came in and just at the last moment got on the binders. This is going to give Robert Tinsley the lead. No, it will not. Tinsley comes in for his stop.
Now, Ulmer is catching in the bus stop. He's going to be checked up a little bit by Jackman. Remember, I said he had to get around him? I think he had to check up a little bit. He gets around Jackman on the oval. He's going to have Ruddock. He can get around as well.
Yeah,
Let's see if Gerard can get rolling here ahead. Gerard's still in the pits.
Meanwhile, Paquin, I thought Paquin was maybe going to try and get a lap back here.
Gerard is rolling. He's going through. Ulmer's not even to the first corner yet. Now he gets there. I think Gerard's going to be able to get this one done. Yeah. Not only is Gerard going to get this done, he's got a ton of cars between him. Fleming, Costa, McGarvey. Of course, a lot of these cars still have to pit before you get to Ulmer.
He is well clear, and go ahead, Sam, because this battle's going to get in the way.
Well, I think Ulmer pitted at the time he did. He came out at the back of the GT3 leaders again, which we had just gone by. And this battle for third that you see at the front here with Patrick Fleming in front of Lauro Costa, it almost got wild at turn 1 there, and it's still almost getting wild because Fleming, oh boy, and that's the HPD of John Paquin trying to find a way through as well. Fleming apex turn 1 too early, and some viewers who may have spotted that he actually clipped the pit wall as he committed to turn 1, and it kind of bounced him off. Somehow he was able to stay ahead of Costa, but Fleming has some damage to the left front fender of that Mercedes.
All right, some of our GT1 leaders have now headed in. Paul Darling is in and out. Swirly is in and out. This is going to give the lead to Daniel Benefield, who has yet to take his stop.
Benefield was running pretty far back in about 7th or 8th position, so I don't expect him to be up front. The question is where...
And Daniel is actually off sequence. Remember, He took that very,
Yeah.
very early pit stop after contact.
But is off sequence in the worst kind of way. I think he's off
Yeah.
sequence with an extra pit stop to make.
Looking like a 3-stopper for the Australian.
Now, but if you look up here, we're seeing Darling. Now, has Darling made his stop yet? Yeah, no, I'm showing Darling ahead of Swiadonovic.
Swiadovic, yeah, he is out ahead of him. Now, where did Paul start this race, actually?
Well, Paul was in that original train that broke up considerably. Let me see about times as well here. Pit stop time 21 seconds compared to Swiadovic, who had a 36-second stop. So there's 15-second difference. Maybe short filling the first time through. Looks like maybe no tires.
That could potentially be the situation. I was going to say, I don't know if they can short fill as Darling really pushing the car coming out of the bus stop. We were riding on board with Morrison, got a great view of that tail waggle as Darling clearly not sitting on his laurels to try and make the best of his strategy call. But these GT1s are thirsty, Bill. I don't know if you can short fill.
Well, it's a 90-minute race. We're looking at 2 stops, yes?
Yeah, we can, but I think their pit window is so small.
Oh, so small that you can't do it. I understand. Well, 15 seconds is in the neighborhood of no tires. Usually I think it's 20 seconds.
We're understanding that Vocek is the only one potentially who has taken tires. We'll try and get back to that and confirm it later. And that might explain why he got jumped by a few people.
90-minute that's mark where it's pretty much a break even whether you take tires or not. I could see no tires being the course of action.
Understand that Danny Kane from the GT3s has come in.
Yeah, lots of GT3 cars pit in this lap, and in fact one car missed his pit stall at the back here. Robert Drachman, he's losing a lot of time. He's still backing up to his pit
He
stall.
was way past his pit stall. Someone was not waving the lollipop well enough. That battle between Paul Darling and Swirly is not over. They're side by side as they come down to the bus stop. Are they going to go in there side by side? This doesn't always work out. It slows them both down majorly as we got a car off track, and it's going to be Darling that comes out on top. That was David Tejada off track who was trying to recover.
Really not a fair fight right here as Darling's on 30-minute old tires.
He's holding his own, though.
Costa is down. I'm trying to work out how Lauro Costa is right behind Dave Hill coming out of the pits, because I think Costa pitted the lap before. Wondering.
And
because I'm wondering if Costa took no tires and was meant to be 20 seconds up the track,
and sorry, Vocek has gotten on the inside of Paul Darling coming through the International Horseshoe. They're now side by side once again, and Vocek has managed to overtake him as they work their way through the kick down in the Western Horseshoe.
now as you look on the screen, there's a third car in that mix, and that's Robbie Morrison back there. This is a battle for would be, I guess, 4th overall in class.
See if Morrison can get in the mix here. Coming on to the banking. He looked a lot tighter onto the apex, but coming off of it, his car just wobbling back and forth. The power of this Corvette not able to transfer into the tires.
Guys, Lauro Costa have been having such a great race, he missed his pit stall the first time down pit road. I'm guessing the reason he's still up here with the GT3 leaders, as we have a spin at the bus stop here.
Oh, Miguel Meyer.
Whoa. Oh, wow, that was close. He's been running up there up front in GT3 all race long.
Let's watch the replay of the spin, and then let's stay on for just a few seconds until he takes off, because my goodness, he made it through, but he couldn't have got it much closer. That was right in front of Danny Kane that happened.
Wow.
If he read that one on purpose and didn't accidentally find that hole, that was some masterful timing on the part of Miguel. All right, I think pit stop should be done for most of our drivers, so let's go through our order in each of the classes. Top 5, let's go to the HPDs first. Jason Gerard leading by 2.5 seconds, a reverse of what we saw in the first stint, with Ulmer in second, trying to give chase. Robert Tinsey, unusual scene for him, 17.5 seconds back from second place and third, clearly not liking this track, and he's struggling. Ryan Bird is holding down fourth, doing very well in his debut in these HPDs, and Mark Schindel rounds out the top 5.
Almost spins. He was right in the middle of a huge pack of GT cars. I don't think he hit anything, but that's going to cost him a lot of time.
Got in the back of Bradley Haley.
Oh, and this was the previous turn. He must have had 2 spins.
Yeah, I see him going. He had a spin going into just the final turn, going out onto the oval.
That's what we just saw on the replay. We saw that little bit of contact with Bradley. Is this the first one? This appears to be his first one down into the Western Horseshoe. Was he a little bit wide? Oh no! Who was that got into him? Gonna have to do some research here to figure out what driver that was, but it looked like a Ford GT.
And then to make after this one, then to make matters worse, he has another one.
That was Robert Jackman, who just lost the rear end on entry. That goes back to what I was talking about. Some of these HPD drivers saying if you make the pass on the outside, you put your car at risk.
Then I guess stay with it here because it won't be long. He has this. He gets in it one more time with the same track. This time it's Bradley Haley.
Guys, Jackman just spun again. I think he spun 3 or 4 times in the last lap. I'm wondering if he's on old tyres because after he overshot his pit stall, maybe it lays off again. Maybe after he overshot his pit stall, he elected to not take any tyres to kind of save time, and it's just backfiring against him here because I think it's been off 5 times since then.
Yeah, I think that's a good call. The way that he blew the apex there, coming into the International Horseshoe. If we can get an opportunity, let's go to Bill for the GT1 Top 5 rundown.
We'll do this, and then we'll go to Sam for the GT3s. Your leader, Daniel Benefield, but don't get excited, friends and fans of Benefield. I think he needs 2 more stops, while everyone else only has 1 to go. Your real leader, I think, when things settle out, he's back by about 4 seconds, is Troy Schuster, quietly out in front, I think, when everything settles down. Now, your third is Wojciech Swidovich.
No, Paul Darling, it looks like.
Is he back? Is Darling back around? I thought Swidovich got around him. Oh, you're right. It is Darling. So that must have happened. That must have happened on this lap because Swidovich was leading across the start-finish line last time. So Darling has got around. Swidovich must have had some problems. He's back in 4th position then, and then behind him, very quiet, Robbie Morrison in that 5th spot. Sam.
Scott McGarvey is leading GT3. He'd been running in about 5th before the pit stops began. I went back, he has pitted, he took 0 tyres. Lauro Costa also took 0 tyres, that's how he's holding on to 2nd place. The thing that's hurting him though is when he went down pit road the first time, he missed his pit stall. So he is running far behind McGarvey and not too far ahead of Kane, who has taken 4 tyres, running in 3rd position ahead of Dave Hill, another driver I've got to imagine has taken no tyres on his first pit stop because he most certainly was not in the top 5 before pit stops began. Running in 5th place, a driver who was running 2nd in GT3 before pit stops began is Bradley Haley. So 2 different races you have going on there between Scott McGarvey, Lauro Costa and Dave Hill, who may very well have to take tyres again, and Danny Kane and Bradley Haley, who will probably be able to get away with no tyres on their 2nd stop if they choose to do so.
One thing I keep noticing as I glance at the screen, we haven't touched on yet, Bill, is there's a lot of marble buildup, and I think that's due to the fact that they had a very long practice/warm-up session before this race, and it seems like it's really punishing drivers who are getting offline.
I think that happens. That's what happens to Ulmer when he tries to make that pass into the International Horseshoe. He goes around the outside. He gets into problems out there. I want to quickly look at Billy Smith right now, currently running 21st overall, just working his way around Lauro Costa, and that's not for position there. he took tires. So Smith and Swiatovic are the only drivers who took tires during that first pit stop. So watch out. He's currently running a 6th position, but only about 1.5 seconds behind Morrison right now.
And there you can see all 3 classes in one shot. Smith in the GT1s, Robert Tinsley in the HPDs, and Lauro Costo in the GT3s. And Tinsley's going to be able to make easy work here of Billy Smith in a moment, coming up to the Western Horseshoe.
And let's go to, is it just finally, did Ulmer, let's go to John Ulmer here, as he's being, make sure we're looking at Darling was in a battle. I want to make sure, Darling, I think, finally is going to get past here. Go ahead, Shazam.
We got a HPD spun, Mark Schindel, who was running 4th in class. He spun on the exit of a horseshoe, and that's costing him multiple positions, well, maybe not positions, but a lot of time, most certainly.
Once again, that outside line in the Western Horseshoe just proving way too tricky for a number of drivers. You're going to see it right here, just a little bit wide, and then the car just understeers way off into the grass.
And you see the graphic here that's dropped him from 4th to 6th.
If they would watch the broadcast while racing, they would realize that's not a good move, but they can't learn from others' mistakes because they don't know about it. Let's go to Paul Darling a little quick. I think we're going to see a pass here. Sviatovic making a move.
This is
I'm pretty sure it's going to happen.
Place.
Yeah. Now remember, that's fresh tires behind against old tires.
I was going to say, some of these drivers might need that spotter on the box who can half listen to the broadcast as it's going on to make them aware of what everybody else is experiencing. Big lockup of the brakes for Vocek.
Here comes Bob the Blade behind him.
Meanwhile,
try and split them. Go ahead.
Yeah, also 3-way battle for 4th place going on in GT3, and what's significant about this, Dave Hill is in 4th place right now on no tyres. Bradley Haley and Patrick Fleming 5th and 6th place. Well, that might not sound that impressive, but they are 2nd and 3rd of the cars on new tyres, so that could potentially be a battle for 2nd late in the race between Haley and Fleming, but right now it's been broken up by the HPD of Wilson.
Let's stay on this, but Bill has an update on our GT1 leader.
Yeah, Daniel Benefield finally had to come in to take his 2nd pit stop, his first scheduled pit stop, so he's back in about 7th or 8th position now in class.
That's going to move Troy Schuster up into the lead of the GT1s. That's a much more normal position we're used to Troy being in.
And about 16 seconds on Darling.
Some impressive leads in each of the classes at the moment. And then this battle here that we've got. Yeah, go ahead, Sam.
This battle shaping up, and that's Mark Schindel. We saw him spun around a little while ago, making up time there by carving right through the middle of Bradley Haley, who has now gone by Dave Hill and should pull away from him because he's on those newer tyres. Hill will stay in close quarters while they're on the bank in here, and he's able to use a draft. Although, as I say that, I wonder if he has a bit more wing because he's actually dropping back from Haley there. Patrick Fleming is going to want to get by Hill here and keep on the rear wing of Bradley Haley's car, and I think he's going to be able to do that. He's running almost 10 miles an hour quicker than Haley down the front straight using that hole in the air, and he is still close to Haley. They're now up into 4th and 5th as Dave Hill drops back to 6th place, and we got Spinner.
Oh, Tim McLeish dropping down the order. That's in the HPDs. He's trying to find a way to back up. It's so difficult to see if any cars are coming with that pit wall exit right there in your view.
And if you can get a replay, maybe director, stay right there. About the same time, Scott McGarvey had a spin right in front of Darling and Sviatovic. Well, putting the pressure on a director now.
Well, if we go to Vocek, he's still in a close battle with Darling as they come down to the bus stop here. So this is not over by any stretch of the imagination. Got a patient HPD just behind them. Jimbo Pfeiffer going to work to the high side and sneak his way through. Not going to interrupt this at all.
Now Pfeiffer, this is a good opportunity because I couldn't get to this battle. Split up a little bit. This is a battle for 4th overall. Not too far back. He got lost in traffic as Ryan Bird was having a great run. Billy Smith slowed him down through the twisty sections of the track, so he got a little bit left behind. And now we have the pass up front. Am I looking here? Yeah, Swierdovich got the pass made on Darling.
Up and around the high side on the tri-oval, and he was well clear by the time they hit the banking or hit the braking for turn 1.
Now here comes Ryan Bird behind him in the prototype, and Bird is in a hurry because he was really close to getting around Pfeiffer. Bird takes that inside line through that corner, which works much better than the outside pass.
We ride on board with Ryan Bird in the 5th position, top 5 in the HPDs. No mean feat, especially with the influx of talent they've had in this class. Oh, and Scott Corbin was off. He was just a little bit ahead there.
And something happened to our GT3 leader, Scott McGarvey, last lap, Joe, because he ran a 156. Well, these cars are meant to be running 143s, and that means that Danny Kane, the driver in second place, who was leading the race before pit stops and now has 4 fresh tyres, is within striking range of McGarvey and running a regular pace of about a second a lap quicker.
We're going to try and find a replay and see if we've got Scott's spin.
Yep.
There we go, all by himself. He's very lucky that those cars went around him instead of trying to duck to the inside.
Yeah, for further confirmation that 4 tyres is the way to go in GT3, talking about Danny Kane being in second place now. He's up to second because he got by Lauro Costa, who has now dropped to third on the old tyres.
Well, Kane is rapidly approaching the car of Scott McGarvey. And we understand that John Ulmer is headed into the pits. This is definitely unscheduled.
I don't know.
40 minutes to go. Yeah, see, that's possibly.
This is such a thirsty track, though. I don't know about, but that GT3 lead, Scott McGarvey, still managing to hold on. They've got the HPD of Elliott Mimi, going to work on the inside. This is going to deny the apex for McGarvey. Danny Kane tucking in nice and tight to that yellow curb. And now look at him. He is within about 2 car lengths, only 3/10, separating himself from P1 in the GT3 class.
Well, I hope Scott McGarvey's spotter hasn't been watching our broadcast, because McGarvey's probably asking him, where does Danny Kane try and pass? His spotter's response will be everywhere. From what we saw between Danny Kane and Patrick Fleming early on, what can Kane do? He's right on the rear wing as they get ready to enter the oval portion.
We've seen Kane, though, has trouble trying to use the draft on the banking to try and slipstream by. What can he do now that he's got another Ford GT up against him? Meanwhile, there's a little bit of debate going on over the radio. I'm not sure what's going on between Chandler Rubeck and someone else, but we got a pass for the lead here as he looks to the inside. Danny Kane might be able to have it. He's been strong on the brakes before. He's strong on them once again. And Danny Kane up to P1.
I'm not sure there's any stopping him here. Yeah, best hope is McGarvey handing with him on the draft. I don't know how well he's going to be able to stick with him in the... well, he's already dropped back, but when they get to the road course portion of the circuit, he's going to lose time on those old tyres. Danny Kane, he might not get the overall win today, but things are looking good for him in GT3.
Oh, and I found out what happened with Chandler. He was side by side with Robert Sklanka into the bus stop, caused a big scare for a bunch of cars behind them, and Sklanka came out the worst of it. It was about roughly a lap ago. We've got the replay up. I believe this was a battle for position between the two of them at the time. Sklanka was way far inside, though, and you can see just that little bit of tip when you're on the limit in the bus stop sent Sklanka turning a complete 180. So this is going to move Sklanka down into 13th position. Not the day that he was hoping for. GT1 seems to be having good battles all throughout today, as Billy Smith has closed in on the back of Swirly.
I told you to watch out for Smith, remember, because I know that he took tires as well. He's not only got around he's working on getting around Sviridovich right now, but he's already got around Paul Darling. So Smith is really on the move.
We're getting information that these guys are running faster laps than Troy, as well as Billy makes it look easy breaking down into turn 1.
Yeah, so right there you got Smith on new tires. Then in the middle there, that's Gralty. He doesn't belong in there. Jumping in there goes the prototype. That's that's Gralty. Sorry, there he's getting in there. Then behind them is Sviridovich. No, let me correct that. Is that yes?
Yeah,
yes. Sorry, and then Darling. Sorry.
Darling and Wojciech have certainly had their fair share of battling, as Billy Smith went very wide on the exit there. I'm not sure if that's his normal line or what.
Might have been trying to leave room for Gralty to get around. Gralty is there now. Now they line up 1, 2, 3.
Might be aware of his tire advantage, not too worried about Wojciech coming back at him. Now, looking at John Ulmer, he has started back out in 8th place after the stop that we're unsure about. You guys seem to think he can make it to the end from here. I'm not so sure about that.
Oh, I'm not sure. I just don't see why he would have hit otherwise.
Could have been a little bit of damage. We don't know.
Yeah, I would think he would have toughed it out. He was so close. So I got a hunch he thinks he knows what he's doing here. 40 minutes is a long stint, though.
Our leader, Jason Girard, though, unfazed by everybody. He's got 26 seconds over Robert Tinsley.
Let me give you a little, if you're scoring at home, let me give you a marker here. 9 seconds. That's the distance between Schuster right now and the GT1 leaders to Billy Smith. And Smith is flying. That's with 35 minutes left to race.
Smith is one of those drivers we've been following since we first started covering this series. He was dominant in the GTD class when they ran the Cadillacs. Since switched over to the GT1s, he's been there ever since, been trying to find the same sort of dominance. Last season, he was coming good, as you mentioned, Bill, and he's looking very sharp right now.
As he's just from the time I've talked to you, gave you that time, he's knocked off about 0.4 of a second, so he's coming. Although they both have a stop to make. Now, keep in mind, Schuster didn't take tires. He might take tires this time, and Smith probably won't.
Could be seeing a change into the guard in each classes here. GT1s, potentially Billy Smith coming on strong. And HPDs, Jason Girard finally returning to form. Can he compete for an entire season? Maybe try and take the crown away from Robert Tinsley? We expected him to be the main challenger for Tinsley last season, and that dissipated as Jason had other responsibilities in real life that he had to attend to, and also just didn't look like he had the pace most times. No such problems this time around, round 1 at Daytona. If you're just joining us, this is the Autobahn Motorcar Group Sportscar Challenge at Daytona International Speedway. In this 90-minute race, we only have 34 minutes left to go. We're starting to get into the closing stages.
Ulmer is a minute 2 behind Girard right now, but he has picked up 2 seconds since his pit stop. He came out a minute 4 behind, so he's running some fast times. I think Girard should be able to come in and out and not lose a minute. I don't think the bogey time is that large.
I think he should be safe. I believe you're right there.
The gap, the Schuster gap, we've talked about it, 7.4 seconds. So another second came off since we've been talking about it. That's Billy Smith.
Yeah, you were talking about fast times earlier. I was about to say Billy Smith set some blazing hot laps of his own. However, I was going to say Wojciech has been holding on to the back of him here.
Right, Darling wasn't able to keep pace. Darling's 5 seconds back, but Sviridovich is doing a great job staying on the back of Smith. But they both have new tires. Both those guys took tires.
Sorry to interrupt, Sam. What were you going to say?
Yeah, not a lot has been going on in GT3 in a while. Danny Kane has been leading. Scott McGarvey was holding station in second, even on these old tyres. But now things are finally starting to shape up because Lauro Costa on the old tyres in third place has been slowly but surely dropping back into the clutches of the drivers running fourth and fifth. As Jason Gerard is apologising for something in the track, guys. Did he get in an incident?
Let me go and check here. Oh, he had close moments. I don't think no, he did not make actual contact, but this is with Scott McGarvey. So our second place GT3 driver, maybe about 40 seconds ago.
See if we can get a replay of that here. But yeah, I'm keeping an eye on the battle for third shaping up in GT3.
Oh, looks like we'll need to back it up just a little bit more. We've got here we go on replay. Watches coming down into the western horseshoe. Ooh, just scrapes the skin off the teeth of Scott McGarvey there.
Yeah, so back to this battle for third for GT3. Lauro Costa on the old tyres has been dropping back into the clutches of Bradley Haley and Patrick Fleming. These two were battling for position earlier on in this race. Now they've been working together, running fourth and fifth, and they've been able to turn some pretty consistent lap times doing it, have ran Lauro Costa down. But I think a driver who's, and as I say that, Scott McGarvey is actually now dropping back into this battle. It's going to be a four-way battle for second, actually. I was about to give McGarvey kudos for holding on to second place on those old tyres. We'll have to wait and see if he can. He could enter pit road in fifth if these three drivers behind him have it their way.
And just quickly point out that Billy Smith, running second in the GT1s, came in for his final stop.
He has exited back out and returned to racing. He is good to go, and now is about the time that we expect a lot of these scheduled stops to happen, at least in GT1 and HPD. Now, these GT3 cars can go quite a bit longer. They can't make it on one stop, at least not here. But they certainly can. I believe we saw them go about 10 minutes past, so about 40 minutes in, I would say, and that first stop was the farthest we saw.
Yeah, I think McGarvey needs to pit now, though, because he's running in second place. He's got good track position here, but he's about to lose all of it, as these cars have been running faster than him, and he's going to lose time the more cars that go by him. I think he really needs to come in before he gets shuffled back too far, but no, he's going to stay out another lap. Maybe he'll be able to use the draft of these cars that are passing him, because we just saw that he lost second place to Costa, and now third place to Haley. But McGarvey didn't lose any time losing those two spots, though, because he was on the oval.
And Schuster has come in. He was the leader in GT1. Now he's made his stop. And he is going to get out. In fact, watch there. Smith. Yeah, Smith has just got around. And remember, they were in that battle. So Billy Smith has jumped Schuster in the pits. But Schuster took tires. Smith did not. So we talked about that could happen.
So now Smith has got to try and hold off Schuster to the end. Go ahead, Sam.
And I think there was interclass contact between John Paquin getting up the back of the GT3 car of McGarvey, who I was mentioning needed to come in. I thought needed to come in, but Paquin takes a toe into the pits there.
We're trying to see if we can find it. It was maybe about 40 to 50 seconds prior. Here we've got it. This is a pretty straightforward slam up the back. He's actually lucky he didn't lift the car. Oh, we're going to see it here. That was the International Horseshoe that was into the Western. He's able to get past Fleming there and the Mercedes. Now he's coming up to the Ford GT of McGarvey. And just boom, right into the back of him. This is not the kind of entry into the HPD class I think that John Paquin wanted, especially after he looked almost infallible for most of the season in the GT3 class.
Might be a little bit of a learning curve going on here.
Yeah, drives very different from those cars.
Guys, David Tejeda was trying to get into the pits, but he was stuck on the high side, exiting NASCAR 4, almost caused some drama. Robert Tinsley and other drivers able to make it the pit road without any incidents.
You're going to see it right here on the replay. Woo! That was threading the needle a little bit. I wonder if he's going to get an unsafe entry with that, too. Did a good job slowing it up, putting 2 tires in the grass, but Tejada lives to fight another day. That was Gerard you just saw exiting. Robert Tinsey is in his pit as well. Just behind him, Ryan Bird has pulled into his stall.
Now looking here at Ulmer, just going into corner 1, is he...
Yeah, Ulmer is passed. He's past Pfeiffer, he's past Tinsey, he's past Bird, but can he make it to the end? I wonder...
Bird? The Tinsey is right behind Bird as they exit the pits here.
I wonder if maybe Ulmer had that unusual stop because maybe he didn't fill it enough in the first stop.
Let's draw your attention to the pits right now as the Flamingos are squawking here in Daytona. Sviatovic is in the pits. So question is, where can we pick up Billy Smith?
Ulmer almost spins. Ooh, very close moments for the cheese on the pizza. Look at the replay here. This is coming out of 6, and I can't blame him too much on this one, Bill. This corner, it's a slow corner. Yep. You really got to get on the power. Look at, woohoo! Man, some Tokyo drift. We'll probably try and take a moment to get the flora and fauna out of our booth.
We'll try to take care of that. Meanwhile, I can report if the Flamingos will let me here that Sviatovic is in and out, and he is ahead of Smith. Excuse me while I get my BB gun. I'll be right back.
We'll let Bill take care of our infestation for a moment. But we're watching Swiatowic there in that second place trying to chase down Daniel Benefield, who we know is yet to stop for one more time because of his unfortunate incident earlier on. So we think that this is going to sway back into Wojciech's favor, but then is Billy going to be able to run down Swirly? And likewise, is Schuster going to be able to run down Billy? So it's going to be an interesting three-way battle to the line here with 25 minutes left to go in this race for the GT1 class. Meanwhile, looking over at those GT3s, Sam, am I seeing correctly? Is Bradley Haley leading now?
No, it's not. Danny Kane's name, and I thought the same thing as you, looking at time in the scoring, and then I realised, oh wait, Danny Kane has actually worked his way up into the middle of the GT1 field. He's had a great race out there today.
Unfortunately, we're thinking that John Paquin has decided to exit the race. I don't believe he's hit his incident limit. It'd be highly unusual for him to do that, but he has not come back out on track.
Yeah, he took that tow from the pits when he got back into the GT3 car, and he retired the race once they got his car back into pit road.
Well, while we weren't looking, Robert Tinsey was in the midst of some action, just got around Ryan Bird. This was down into the bus stop. Actually, no, it was out of turn 6. It was a wonderful outgunning move. Just got to the power better than Ryan did.
It's not over yet, though. Bird has the slipstream as they come into the as they come into the front straight here. Let's see if Bird can make anything happen. Entering turn 1, he's too far back for now, but definitely within striking range. There's 24 minutes to go. As long as you can stay within striking range, you can always, you don't have to be a car length ahead of him at the finish line, just a nose length.
I'm back, and I can report for all the PETA members, no Flamingos were hurt in the making of this broadcast.
Oh, and no, Robbie Morrison. Robbie Morrison was off in the Western Horseshoe. I think he managed to avoid the tires, but just barely.
That's too bad. He was having such a great race.
Now, I think it only lost him one position. Maybe not even that. No, I don't think it lost him any. But man, what a slide and what a catch.
No, those were all non-class guys behind him. Meyer, Pfeiffer, and Ulmer got around.
A lot of luck for Robbie Morrison, so maybe that consistency can still play into his favor. Now, one thing, Bill, that we need to take a look at, second place in the HPDs, Jimbo Pfeiffer, although that's about to change because here comes John Ulmer. Pfeiffer, though, with a great showing. He did run some last season, but he's back here to run a full season now, and he could be on the podium, but the question is, which step?
Well, you're ahead of Robert Tinsey, that alone. We're not sure if we're not sure if this passes means anything here, because we're not sure that the Big Cheese can go the distance.
We're going to find out soon. He pitted at the 40-minute mark?
Yeah, he's got... Jimbo Pfeiffer has 13 seconds on Bob the Blade Tinsey. And we just got to do it.
Whoa, Tinsey actually just had contact. We saw it on screen. And he is not happy with Lionel Duprat, who finally gets out of the way. Let's go on board with Tinsey and see what happened. It looked like Lionel was slow, very, very slow. What in the world is he doing here? Slows up, and you can see that slight bit of contact, and then slows up again, coming into the S's where Robert narrowly gets around him.
Yeah, that's a bit scary, and Tinsey is in a hurry. As we talked about, he's going to try to run down Jimbo Pfeiffer.
Yeah, and I was going to say he's got to hope that his car is not damaged, especially when you make contact with that front splitter on anything.
I got to steal here. We got to go to 5th place in the prototypes real quick. Ryan Bird, it just wouldn't be fair not to get the camera on him. How about 5th place for this guy? Currently 15 seconds up on Daniel Gralti, so he has plenty of time. Great run from Ryan.
Top 5 in his first time out in the HPDs in the Autobahn series. That Esterson Motorsports machine should have a nice little finish. The guys won't be able to spray the champagne unless something happens to some of the guys in front, but they'll be able to tip their hats.
Well, Ulmer may have another stop in him, so who knows?
Yeah, well, that will promote him to 4th, but just off the podium still.
Now, while I was chasing the birds away, I don't know if we mentioned Daniel Benefield out in front in the GT1s if you're watching at home, but again, we think there's another stop in his future.
Now, you have to remind us, because I lost track of what the tires were. Billy Smith did not take them, right?
Right, did not.
And
neither did Swirly. We think Schuster did. That's why Schuster lost all that time. But he's not Tire Schmeyers. He's not able to hang with Smith.
Yeah, Schuster's last laps, 40.6, 41.9, 41.2. Traffic might have had some involvement in that. Swirly's was 2:15, so it was definitely a long one. 41.7, 42.1, and Smith with a 41.1.
Smith is spun.
Smith, oh no! Second place driver in the GT1s loses it coming out of the bus stop. He loses 1 position. He loses 2 positions. He goes from 2nd to 4th.
Take a breath, Billy. I don't think this is devastating. I think you have the pace to run in there as we watch this car. What a weird place to get loose.
Well, that may be down to the lack of new tires, lack of fresh tires on that car. This is where he wants to get on the power.
Yeah, coming out of the bus stop, and yeah, the tail end, you know, it was a little closer to the bus stop than I originally thought.
Could have got just maybe a little bit too much curb as well, and that could have helped it around.
I think he's got to be happy with the way things came out. You lose it there so often, you end up in the outside wall. All you really lost there, all that got hurt were a few positions in your pride. Plenty of time here with 20 minutes left to run down some of these spots.
He's just being lapped by Ulmer, his teammate, but we've got GT3 pit stops happening as well, Sam.
Yeah, they're just finishing up actually. Haley and Fleming were the last 2 into the pits. As they come out, they're going to be around Lauro Costa. Now, Costa, I'm trying to work out here if he's actually on the same tyres that he started the race with, and if that's the case, Fleming and the driver Haley just took no tyres, I'm assuming, and this is going to hand Haley the lead once all is said and done. In fact, he's actually leading the race right now. You might be wondering, where's Danny Kane? Well, he had a 4-tyre stop, but I think it was more than that, because he also came out by McGarvey, and I'm pretty sure McGarvey took 4 tyres. I think Kane had a really long stop. I don't know why, but right now the lead, the race order up front in GT3 is Haley, Costa, and then we've got Fleming, McGarvey and Kane, and that's all going to the end.
Kane was in there for 50 seconds. This is compared to like 19 or 20, 16 seconds for Fleming. I wonder if maybe Kane short-fielded the first time, so not only did he take tires on that last stop, but maybe he had a larger fuel to take as well.
But he's only got around 17 more minutes.
Our leader in the GT1s is coming, by the way, Benefield, making that third and final stop.
Where does he come out, though? I'm seeing, actually, he might still be on the podium despite an extra stop here. Nope, he's just off of it. About 11 seconds behind third place Paul Darling. That's still impressive.
Yeah, it's a nice run.
Wow. Making lemons out of lemonade, the Australian cannot be held back.
Well, and if I didn't need proof that Haley's on old tyres, he just completely overshot turn 1 this lap. He continues to lead the GT3 field, though. The good news for him is the car's behind him as well. I'm pretty certain on no tyres. I think Scott McGarvey is the first one on 4 tyres, so we'll have to wait and see what the number 64 machine can do.
You know, we were curious prior to the race if Scott McGarvey was at all related to Steve McGarvey, who was running in the GT1s. They're both from Canada, we looked up, but I mean, well, that doesn't necessarily mean they're related.
Billy Smith has had to make, am I looking at a third pit stop? Am I seeing this right? After that spin, he came in the pits again.
Down the order, yeah.
So I said, don't worry, Billy, you have plenty of time to make up the, well, that you don't get to take an extra stop. So,
he's down to 8th. And he's got a lot of work to do. He's coming up on David Sockrider, so he could make another spot yet still.
Well, Joe, in the beginning of the show, I talked about newcomers coming in and surprising it all. How about Wojciech Spiridovich? There's one for you. Running, it looks like he's got a real chance to win the GT1s right now. Up by 1.5 seconds over Schuster.
So much to your dismay, Bill, if he keeps running, it sounds like we're going to be calling his name a lot this season.
I will have it down by next race.
All right.
Wojciech Spiridovich.
You're getting it. Troy Schuster, though. This guy was in the championship hunt all last season, and he is only 1.1 seconds back from Wojciech. He's run him down now. He's looking very handy to maybe take this win away if he can get around him and run away.
Remember, Schuster on fresh rubber.
On fresh rubber, but can Wojciech maybe tuck in the draft and try to snipe it back? How about Paul Darling as well, sitting in third right now in the GT1s? We expected big things from him. He was so dominant. Well, not dominant, but so fast over in the GT3 class last season, mostly fighting John Paquin. Doesn't have that this season. He's switched over to fighting other big names, and he's showing he can still hold his own. He's only 11 seconds back from our leaders and looking at a podium finish.
Yeah, you talk about Sam's class. Darling is gone, Paquin is gone. That really opens it up down there to some new guys.
And we're seeing some great names step up. Bradley Haley leading the way. Laurel Costa, he wasn't there last season. He's stepping up and showing that he is a fast driver. Yeah.
Costa had a win last season.
He did, but in the GT1s as well.
Yeah, I'm still not sure how this is all going to play out, Joe. I'm keeping my eye on the lap times here because Bradley Haley leading in class by a long time, but he ran a 1:46 last time around. That is not a quick time at all. He comes across the start-finish line this time at 1:45, but it's a high 1:45. It's a 1:45.8, and Laura Costa runs a 1:46. And Patrick Fleming in third place runs a 1:44, so there could be a change for second coming up here. I'm still not sure how this GT3 class will shake out by the checkered flag. It's going to be fun to watch. Fleming definitely putting pressure on Costa for second right now.
Well, I thought that Troy Schuster was going to be coming up fast, but then he lost a lot of time there. Oh, it looks like lap traffic. Yeah, that was Tinsey and Pfeiffer forcing him in a two-wide situation about 30 seconds ago.
You're absolutely right. He had knocked it down to almost a second, and he's back considerably now. Oh, but locking it up as we're watching the replay, walking it up in Turn 1 as we're looking at this is Sviatovic.
Well, yeah, and Vocek's lockup is now taking a whole second off of that 3-second gap. So Troy is not out of this by any means.
Vocek is really going to have to run the tires off of that car for the next 12 and a half minutes to stay ahead of Schuster.
Well, he's not going to need him after this. Meanwhile, Daniel Benefield had a spin.
Turn 1. Might have been a little more than to spin. Did he get in front?
No, didn't get
getting around. Robbie Morrison does a good job. That was for position.
So, despite Morrison's mistake a little bit earlier on, he's now up to 4th position.
Benefield turns it around, gets back in 5th.
The driver I'd want to keep an eye on here is John Ulmer, because if he pitted at 40 minutes to go, and they have about just over half an hour of fuel, he's got maybe 2-3 minutes left, and here he goes right here, right on cue. He cannot make it to the end. So while this doesn't affect our leader, Gerard continuing to plod his way forward to what looks like a nearly unstoppable win, Robert Tinsley is going to streak his way by Ulmer, and now Jimbo Pfeiffer is going to be able to go past.
Well, John comes in for an interview, or at least lets us know why he had to take that extra stop. I didn't see an incident that caused him to do it. Maybe there was something I didn't know about.
Maybe he had a flamingo in the car.
And that'll be annoying.
And Ryan Bird is able to jump him as well. Now he gets going. He's well ahead of Mark Schindel. He could still run down Ryan Bird.
Well, that's the flamingo he wants to get.
Yeah, he's going to be about 5 seconds back with 10 minutes to go. If he can keep the pace up and stay out of trouble, I think it's feasible.
Go up to Bird right now. He knows that. He's got to negotiate around Armando Edwards and the leader in the GT1s, Sviatovic.
Nothing worth having on camera, but a note that Danny Kane has gone up into 4th place in GT3 by Scott McGarvey. McGarvey let him have it on the back straight. We'll see if Kane can run down the top 3 drivers. He's got a long way to go. Top 3 continue to close in GT3.
And when you talk about McGarvey, we haven't mentioned Stephen McGarvey in the GT1s. That's the champion, running 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, about 10th in class there for Stephen.
And I believe he ran into problems at one point, I believe.
They do get a couple drop races, so Daytona may be one that Stephen can burn later on in the season.
And that's Bradley Haley, the car behind him, is actually losing time in GT1 traffic there, where McGarvey overshot his marks, and Haley doesn't need to get held up too much because Costa and Fleming are the next 2 cars in line behind him, just a little ways back. They're reeling him in about a second a lap.
Meanwhile, let's jump over the GT1 leaders because Troy Schuster has knocked it down to about a second. Traffic is not helping him, though, as Swirly locks it up down in the International Horseshoe. That's John Ulmer getting by Schuster. Before, Schuster had to go by Armando Edwards down into turn 1, and that forced him to the outside line. Just having...
There goes John again.
Yeah. And that's going to give some of that time back to Troy with Ulmer going past Vocek.
Ulmer got loose again as he went around Vocek. Now remember, Ulmer's in a hurry to get to Bird. That's 4 seconds to go. He's got to hustle to get there with the 8 minutes to go. But the real battle now, it's still a second, but there's nobody between them now. This is between Vocek and Troy.
And Troy is going to be able to start to use that draft a little bit to reel himself in closer and closer to Vocek.
Meanwhile, right before we went to this, we saw how close the drivers in 2nd and 3rd were running in GT3. They just switched positions. Fleming now ahead of Costa. They continue to try and work together to try and run down Haley.
Look at this yellow number you see there down there. It's down to about 0.5 of a second now. unless Schuster makes a mistake, I just don't see how Sidorovich going to be able to hold him off.
I would not count anything out at this point. We thought it was a done deal about 10 minutes ago, and then traffic came in and wrecked Troy Schuster's day. Now he's closed back in. Does he have any HPDs coming up behind him? That's the question. Mark Schindel is coming. Ooh, and we understand that Jim Pfeiffer, we thought that Jimbo was going to be on the podium. He's come in for a splash and dash. This puts Ryan Bird on the podium.
What a great run from Bird, and he still has a 3.2 second lead over Ulmer. Ulmer's coming.
Is fuel going to be tighter than we thought it would be? Our other drivers may be going to have to come in.
Maybe Gerard and Tinsey have the same trouble.
You know, Gerard could almost come in for the splash and dash at this point and still come out in the lead. He's got 24 seconds over Tinsey.
The next guys up to pit would be maybe Mimi and Schindel, but I'm not sure if they have the pace that they'd be using up the same fuel that Gerard and Tinsey would. We'll watch it.
There we see our second place driver, Tinsey. Won by far the most races last season and ran away with the championship and the prototypes. Down to 6 minutes to go on the clock. We're going to see about 3 more laps, and then this race is over.
I can tell you right now in GT3 a lot can change before the checkered flies. I don't think Danny Kane is going to win this race. I really thought he had it in the bag. Something happened to him on that final stop. He had a very long stop. It's dropped him far back, but the top 3 are closing in for a battle at the end here. Bradley Haley leading Patrick Fleming, leading Lauro Costa.
Jimbo Pfeiffer just making his way through the GT1 leaders, and Joe, I'll be darned if Sviridovich isn't doing a good job of holding off Schuster. They've got another lap. Now they got David Tejeda to negotiate around. Pfeiffer, the GT3 driver. Pfeiffer goes around Tejeda.
He helped out a little bit there because he split them for that international horseshoe. And I think that gave a little bit of breathing room to Vocek, but now that they come on to the banking here, what's going to happen? Is Tejeda going to stay high? Yep, he sees what's going on. He keeps out of these guys' way, but look at the draft now. Troy is well within it. He's closing in. It's down to 3/10 between them. He's not close enough to try and dive it in down into the bus stop, but a clean exit could give him a chance.
I'm sorry, Joe. Fleming is close enough to make a move. Entering turn 1, he takes it from Haley. They're running side by side for the GT3 lead. Fleming on the inside, Haley on the outside. Patrick Fleming has been the fastest of these 3 cars, and the last thing Haley needs him to do now is run away with that lead. But he's got the position, and this isn't going to help Haley. That's down the inside, dives Costa, he holds onto it. Haley gives him a nudge in the international horseshoe. They have switched a second position, but Patrick Fleming leads this race. And Costa needs to hold on to him for the next couple of turns here, because otherwise Fleming's going to run away.
It took him down to the dying stages, but Fleming's strategy came to fruition. He's got to be breathing a sigh of relief. Now, if only he could break that draft. If we hop back to our GT1 leaders, nothing has changed.
Happened. He held him off through the bus stop, and he held him off into corner 1.
There was a big accident happened behind them, but I didn't quite catch who was involved. I know a couple HPDs got into one another.
I think it was Reese. Sean Reese got tagged there and pushed a couple prototypes like through the bus stop. David Tejeda involved in it.
Unfortunate, so close to the end. Drivers
it wasn't.
Probably.
Yeah, it's not an issue.
All right, that final podium spot, John Ulmer, he wants it. He may have messed up the strategy earlier on today, but he can still make up for it with a podium. He had the pull. He could have had the win, but at least he wants the champagne. What's he going to do? He's got the draft on our 3rd place driver, Ryan Bird. His first time out. What does he do against the Big Cheese? He goes high, lets him down to the low side into the tri-oval, and I think this is him letting him through.
Right behind the GT3 leaders here.
This is definitely going to complicate things. Ulmer swinging a little bit wide. He leaves them room on the inside. They got an HPD almost going off track here, letting them through. It's getting very tight through here. Now they're going to have to work their way past Costa. He sees them coming. A car's smoking his brakes. John Ulmer gets into Costa.
Costa turned in on them. They may have got away with it.
Whew, everybody is able to continue on, but just...
Yeah, I'm worried that their toes might be out of whack because it was wheel-to-wheel contact, but it looks like they're running okay.
Bird got through as well, so he's still in tow of. He can still see Ulmer. Meanwhile, we have a prototype off. Who is that? That's Duprat. That was just ahead of your GT1 leaders.
Boy, outbraked himself on the outside of the International Horseshoe and just slithered into that tire barrier.
And now getting in this mix, if you go to the GT1s, this is Galtry again coming through, gets in between Sveridovic, who has done another, I think he's going to lead one more lap. Schuster, try as he might, he just can't seem to close the deal.
I think Schuster may have worn the shine off those tires. I think he ate him up, and now he can't do anything about Vocek.
Back up to almost a second. He might be able to run him down a little bit in the toe, but I don't think he's going to get him before turn 1.
What does Ulmer do? Oh, did Ulmer get some damage here?
Maybe he has required repairs from that contact. His car may have still been handling okay, but iRacing can still tell you, no, we don't like something on your car.
Could have ignored it, maybe we're thinking, but...
I think if you do that, even with the meatball flag, I think it disqualifies you at the end. You have to serve it before the race is over.
So, move Bird up into position 3 again, and...
Wow.
Ulmer continues every season. He continues to be a
his own worst
story.
enemy sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, but great story for Bird. Flamingo power, getting him to P3.
Let's get a Flamingo on that car for next race, man.
All right. Well, Jason Girard is flying on his own. He's up in the lead by 27 seconds, and as he crosses the line, the white flag is out. He finished strong last season. He's going to start this season finishing strong. The Itasha car is looking at a victory if he can just bring it home.
Guys, Schuster had to pit. Schuster was running second. Remember, running down Sveridovic? He had to pit. He's fallen back to third now.
Did he not have enough fuel, maybe? Was he trying to save behind Vocek?
So that moves Darling, if I got this right, that moves Darling up into second.
Benefield was a little bit too far back, unfortunately. About 7 seconds between Schuster and Benefield.
Schuster in third, Benefield fourth, Morrison looks like fifth. Man, what a great race. I don't know if Girard, I'm not sure Jason Girard has this thing locked up yet.
Well, second place is definitely going to be up for grabs because Costa and Haley are still duking out despite Fleming having left them in the dust. Oh, no, I take that back. Haley is coming in. Wow.
Probably not enough fuel, and that's a simple miscalculation there because they would have, that they pitted late enough, they should have been able to fill it up to the end.
I think he pushed the
Girard
limit.
just made his way through the bus stop, so are we closing in on the race win here, Joe?
Yeah, this is it. I was about to say Bradley Haley probably pushed that strategy a little bit too hard on the fuel, but the driver that pushed and didn't push too hard was Jason Girard, and as he weaves his way to the line, he's going to take win number 1 of Season 5 here in the Autobahn Motorcar Group Sports Car Challenge. And GT1 of Vocek has got a little ways to go. Where is Fleming?
Yeah, GT3 race will finish before the GT1s will. Yeah, with Patrick Fleming gonna take the win. I've got to admit, I ruled Patrick Fleming out at the middle of this race because I picked him to win at the start of it, saying he's starting on pole, he's in prime position. Well, he fell back, man. He got in the wall in turn 1. He just got shuffled back in the pack, but he has rallied his way back up to the front. It looks like he's going to lead Lauro Costa and Danny Kane home across the line. A great race by Costa. Remember, he came down pit road 3 times once he missed his pit stall and used 0 tyres. I think he's going to finish the race on the same tyres that he started.
And
but
Guy
Fleming,
Schuster blew his engine.
But
Sorry, go
Fleming
ahead, Sam.
is go in. And here he comes to the finish line, and I think so. Yeah, he's just trying to trick us there. Fleming crosses the line and wins here in Florida.
Guy, is Paul Darling Svidovich just had an off in the bus stop? Is Darling now the winner? Darling is going to get the win as he comes around. I think he's going to get the GT1 win.
Unreal. Paul Darling, we thought that maybe he'd look at a podium at best, but Darling takes the win in GT1. Let's go back to look at Schuster's replay. He was smoking badly coming across the line, had to coast across the line. Did he hit the wall coming out of the bus stop, potentially? No? This was... Oh, he overcooked it coming out of turn 6 onto the banking. He was by himself. He nearly missed David Tejada. My goodness. And this is a hard hit. This is the time that you're thankful this is all virtual and he did not have to feel these G-forces. My goodness.
I think I6 Swirly ran out of fuel. I think that's what it is. Yeah, but maybe he overcooked. Yeah, he definitely got a slowdown penalty in the bus stop, but I'm not sure how Darling got there so fast.
I'm looking back farther. He must have had a mistake farther down the line. No, I think it was fuel.
I think he was just saving. It looks like he was off the pace all the way through the twisty sections. And watch, when he comes out here...
Yeah, it's like he lifts and lets him through. I think he cut it just a quarter of a lap too tight. That has got to be disappointing.
Oh my goodness.
But
you never know.
Yeah. He still manages a second place in his first time out in the series, which is no mean feat. But after all of this introspection post-race, we do have to stop for a break. Stick around, though, because we're going to have all the upcoming races here on screen. And as well, post-race, we're going to have the unofficial results as well as interviews. So stick around. Fireworks behind the Ferris wheel, the famous Ferris wheel, here at Daytona. In the end, Jason Gerard took home win number 1 here of Season 5 in the Autobahn Motorcar Group Sports Car Challenge. And it was Robert Tinsley who followed him home by an astonishing 26 seconds. We'll see if he can maybe improve later on in the season and come back for another crown. Ryan Bird, a surprise podium for him, but a well-earned podium while everybody else around him faltered. Jimbo Pfeiffer, one of those that could have been up there as well, but finished 4th. Mark Schindel, a nice quiet run to a top 5. We didn't cover him much, but he did earn that one. John Ulmer, he summed it up well, and after the race, as he was talking to other drivers over the radio, a 4-stop strategy did not do much for him, and he finished in 6th. Daniel Gralty, not a great first start for the driver, but still finishes 7th. Elliot Mimi in 8th in the prototype. Sean Reese comes home in 9th. We didn't get to see a whole lot of him on the broadcast with all the action elsewhere. Mark Wilson was rounding out the top 10. Tim McLeish managed to finish in 11th, Chris Pence in 12th, and Lionel Duprat in 13th. We'll jump just a little bit. Scott Corbin finished in 14th in class, and now let's go to the GT3s.
Paul Darling lived up to his nickname as Oh My, made the pass in the bus stop. We're still not sure what happened to the guy he was chasing, but Paul Darling gets the win in the GT1s here at Daytona. Wojciech Swiatkowski finishes in 2nd. I went back to check. It didn't sound like he was out of fuel. It might have just been a matter of pace, and a mistake in the bus stop cost him a slowdown penalty. Daniel Benefield, how about this? 3-stop strategy, goes ahead and gets 3rd spot ahead of Billy Smith, and Robbie Morrison rounds out the top 5 in that class. Stephen McGarvey had trouble early. The defending champion, didn't hear much from him as he goes 6th. Again, Troy Schuster had engine trouble. Ryan Huff didn't mention his name much. Paul Lindsay, David Sockrider, Leif Peterson, Kevin Santana, Armando Edwards, Clark Archer, and Matt Owens rounds out the field in the GT1s. Sam?
Yeah, in GT3, Patrick Fleming won from pole, but it was far from that simple. It's pretty much a 5-horse race all the way in GT3 to the checkered flag. Patrick Fleming held on ahead of Lauro Costa, who was down pit road 3 times. One time he missed his pit stall, 0 tyres. Gets him to the end in 2nd place. Ahead of Danny Kane, a driver who looked to be the dominant driver throughout most of the race, took tyres on his 2nd stop. It backfired against him. He finishes ahead of Scott McGarvey, who salvaged a 4th place finish after Bradley Haley had to pit on the white flag lap. That dropped Haley back to 5th, ahead of Dave Hill, who got 6th place, and Chandler Rebeck, who was down to 10th at one point, was able to salvage a 7th place finish ahead of Sheldon Woloshin. 2 Ford GTs round out the top 10, Robert Drachman and Christopher Sherburn. Then we go to Miguel Maya and David Tejada, as well as Robert Sklenka and Sheldon Rosenbaum. And now you get back to the drivers who ran into trouble during the race: John Paquin, Mark Kudrowski, Alex Simonik, Buafia there, James Wyckoff, and Pablo Silveira. Brett Trojan did not start the race.
And with that, we've got our interviews lined up. First off, let's go to our HPD winner with Jason Gerard, who we think did a phenomenal job out there today. He started in 2nd, and Jason, first of all, congratulations on the win. 2nd, were you at all surprised at the pace that you had in qualifying over Tinsley?
No, I really wasn't. I knew I had a strong car even well into practices for the last few days. I felt like I had a bullet of a car, and I thought I had the pole, and then Ulmer nipped it from me. That was really the only thing to make it perfect. But we had a good race for 30 minutes. Don't know what happened to him. I'm guessing he had some kind of issues, but I'm just glad that I was just able to get that first win, first race of the season, and not have to worry about that for the remainder of the season like I did last season.
Yes, with that monkey off your back, are you already thinking maybe to try and aim towards the championship, or will your schedule allow you to try and tackle that this season?
Well, I'm always aiming for the championship, but if I'm honest with you, I just take it one race at a time. The championship should take care of itself. If you win races, stay out of trouble. I don't really worry too much about the championship. It's still too early for that, but I think I can make a run for it. But once we'll have to wait and see what happens when we get to an actual road course. I wouldn't consider Daytona an actual road course, though.
Yeah, the Rovals can be a bit of a unique beast, but taking the Nico Rosberg route to the championship, I see. Since we are going to a road course next round, how do you feel your strengths are there?
Well, I think the next round is Road Atlanta. I've done pretty decent there. Kind of love-hate relationship. I think I could take it, but I know Tensley's strong there too. So it's, and then there's always Ulmer and whoever else that might be able to challenge. If Quinn shows up, he'll be strong there as well too. So it's going to be tough for the whole season. It should be very interesting to watch.
Well, congratulations once again for taking that Itasha machine to victory lane. Before I let you go, I'll let you give your shout out, your regular shout out to your people.
Yes, I'd like to thank my Japanese people. You know me, Joe Peak. And I also like to thank the Japanese karma, my man, Patrick Fleming, double Itasha, winning in 2 classes. Can you believe that? Japan karma right there.
All right. Well, seems like that team is off to a fantastic start, but also up to a fantastic start in a new class is Patrick Fleming. So let's go to Bill Zahn, who's going to interview him.
I think Sam has Patrick.
It sounds like Sam is going to be talking to Patrick, so let's hand over to Sam.
Yeah, Patrick Fleming, our GT3 winner. And Patrick, we could tell in the post-race chat and the victory donuts at the end of the race that you were enjoying that victory.
Yes, I was. I need to learn how to do donuts.
Well, hey, at least you don't need to learn how to race around this course. You started on pole position, and I've got to admit, I kind of picked you for the win at the start of a race, but in the middle of a race, I was regretting my decision. I think you fell back to about 6th. If I'm not mistaken, you clipped the wall over in turn 1, but you were still able to salvage a win. Were you in control the whole time?
After the first stint, trying to battle with Danny, I fried my tires. So the second stint, I decided, with the pitting strategy of everybody being a little different, I did find myself further behind than I expected. And then I just tried to keep it behind people when I was coming up on somebody, but knew we were coming up on somebody ahead of them. I decided, let me just push you, because I was faster than pretty much everybody on the straights somehow on my setup.
Yeah, we could see that early on in the race. You and Danny Kane would switch back and forth. Kane looked like he was able to get by you. He even made the outside line work in the International Horseshoe. But once you got out on the straights, you just blew by him. Do you like those low downforce setups?
I'm just lucky with this one. I have no idea how I'll do next race. But right around that time when he passed me on the horseshoe, I kind of just let him go. He was getting a little too aggressive behind me, and I was like, this is a long race. I'd rather ease up. I know he probably doesn't want to hear that.
Yeah, well, at the start of a race, I said we've got about 5 different drivers here in GT3 that could potentially all win. And in the final 10 minutes of a race, I think you were all thinking the same thing. It was an extremely competitive class today. Do you expect more of the same in Road Atlanta? And if that's the case, do you think you'll come out on top there?
Well, it's definitely the names in GT3. While it doesn't have Baquin and Darling from last year, which I could never get up to, this list of people, I am surprised that I even won this one. I was very anxious at the start. As far as Road Atlanta, I'm hoping. I like that track, but I've never really done well. So we'll see.
All right, we will see, absolutely. And, man, Patrick, that was an incredible race up there today. And great to see you here in Victory Lane. We look forward to seeing you back out on track in a couple of weeks' time.
Thanks, and you guys always do a great job. I can't wait to watch it. You guys take care.
That was Patrick Fleming, our winner in the GT3s. My apologies, I said that he had switched classes. He was in GT3 last year. Driver that I was thinking of that I'm going to talk to now that did switch classes is Paul Darling, and he won in the GT1s today. And we saw him very fast, although he had the competition of Paquin always up against him last time. This time, a lot of fast guys, but Paul, you managed to come out on top. Do you have any idea what happened to Vocek in that final lap?
Oh, on the last lap, I think he just made a mistake going into the bus stop. It was really hard racing. We were side by side. I lifted off to try and get a run going on the start-finish straight, but it looks like he just locked up on entry.
So we were trying to piece that together post-race and could not figure it out for the life of us. Well, as I mentioned, you had a lot of competition in Paquin and GT3, made it very difficult to try and beat him to the crown. This time around, do you feel a little bit more confident now that you've switched to GT1, or do you think you're going to have equally as tough a time to try and fight off all the talent around you?
I had no confidence going into this one. The Corvette was just a complete handful around here. So not too familiar with not great in the Corvette. GT3 is my main car, but I just thought I'd hop in this for fun. So we'll see how the season goes.
Yeah, tell us about the differences switching between the classes. What are the main things that you've had to adjust to?
No ABS by far. That's definitely the biggest thing. You can't just slam on the brakes and the car will immediately come to a stop.
Well, I think you didn't have to worry too much about stopping today with taking home P1. Congratulations once again, and best of luck to you at Road Atlanta.
Thank you very much, guys. I'll see you later.
That was Paul Darling, winner today in the GT1 class. We got one more interview. We had asked about how that battle went, but Bill still wants to get a word with Wojciech Swiatek and see what he thought of this race.
First of all, let's start with the important thing. How's my pronunciation? Wojciech Swiatek. How'd I do?
That's pretty damn close.
Let's hear the man who owns it say it. Go ahead. Let's hear it.
Wojciech Swiatek.
Okay, I can get that. I'll have that by the end of the season. My goodness, what a race for you. Up and down all over the place. What happened on the last lap? I had circled you as the winner, and Paul Darling ran you down, and then you had trouble in the bus stop.
I must say, inevitable thing happened because I was really run out of tires completely. Paul was catching me very, very quickly, and I could tell, like, he was so much quicker down the chicane and every other corners down the track. I was only trying to not catch this Ford GT before the chicane, but unfortunately we catch up to him before the chicane, and I just didn't manage to make the corner. Simple as that.
Well, let me tell you, you put on a great show. This is your first race in this series?
Yes, it's my first race. Just gonna have to learn some of that from this race. Few mistakes, but yeah, not too bad result at the end. Now, I guess you're living in the UK right now, but where are you from originally? Originally from Poland, and I live in Ireland, so almost UK.
In Ireland, okay, almost the UK. That's right. Well, congratulations and good luck. You're going to be a full-time driver. You're going to race as often as you can.
Yeah, that's the plan, to do the whole season.
Great.
I have time at this hour, so not a bother for me.
It is absolutely. I know it's late there. Well, congratulations and good job. Congratulations on second place, your first time out, Wojciech.
Lovely. Thanks very much. See you again.
All right. There you have it, Joe. I think neither one of us quite have it, but we're getting closer.
Yeah, I'm going to save that part of the broadcast and play it over my ears while I sleep. So
Before you go, let's do a quick one here. I got one last guy we'll sneak in here. Daniel Benefield finished third. Daniel, congratulations. We'll get you real quick. You had the lead for a while. What happened that you had to make that stop so early?
I got together with one of the other cars, Bifida. I probably screwed that up. We got together early on. We made contact, broke my suspension, and then sent me back into him. So I'm not sure what happened to his race. So that put me on a 3-stop. I lost a bit of time with the stop, and then having to go to a 3-stop, that didn't help either. But somehow, I don't know how. I really don't know how I managed to pull P3.
Yeah, well, we're running long, but I wanted to get you in here because you had a good run. One thing that we did learn, that you have the pace to run with these guys, so good luck the rest of the way.
Thank you, Bill.
Okay, Daniel Benefield, third place driver. Joe?
Well, I understand we're getting one more now that we've had Daniel. We've got another Danny Kane, who looked to be in the hunt for the win for most of the race and then slipped back. Danny, we heard another driver say that they thought you were a little aggressive at the start. Did you intentionally try and be able to get hard on the brakes with your setup? Because we noticed that you could really take it in deep.
I wasn't concentrating on the brakes during my, when I was setting up the car. I was kind of caught off guard by how deep I could go into the brakes compared to some of the other cars. But But no, I mean, I know I made one pretty aggressive pass down on the apron through the tri-oval, but our driver's briefing prior to the race said that was a legal part of the track through the tri-oval, so I thought I'd give it a try. Aside from that, I actually was, I felt like I was kind of laying back for the first 15 minutes or so.
Well, we've only got you real quick, so I wanted to ask about the car differences between the Merc and the Ford. What was the deciding factor that made you go for the GT?
I don't really like the Merc just in general. I mean, it's a good car, but I used to run the Ford GT, the GT2 version in official races a lot, and I just kind of always had a soft spot for it.
Well, you made good use of it today. Still managed to finish on the podium, so nicely done.
Thank you.
That was Danny Kane, third place finisher today in the GT3s. And with that, we're going to wrap up so our guys can get out of the booth and take care of things. First of all, we want to thank the official sponsor of this league, the Autobahn Motorcar Group, and of course the organizer, John Ulmer, for everything that the two of those parties do to make this thing happen. Thanks to the software and the hardware that we use for our broadcast that you can see listed on your screen. Additional thanks to our musical contributors, Eric Echolm and Casey Lalonde, whose music you can also find at the websites listed. Thanks to the team today, Bill, Sam, Amjad, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com, along with archived races and upcoming broadcasts. We're also on Twitter at GSR Channel and Facebook at /Global Sim Racing Channel. Next race is going to be at Road Atlanta, as we mentioned. Another track with a very long straight that allows drafting. That'll be Monday, February 20th at 9:15 p.m. Eastern. It almost always puts on a stunner here in the AMGSC, so definitely catch that one in 2 weeks' time. We also have upcoming races for other series on screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. However, until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.